Welcome back to episode 2 of the Residents podcast. Today we're going to be talking about the power of listening and feeling a connection, and specifically how counselors utilize listening and connection to foster change and to help people, really. So as I bring that up to you guys, what are your initial, right off the top of your head, initial thoughts?
I think oftentimes we're gravitated towards people who we feel listened to. We naturally want to hang out with them, or we naturally want to talk to them. So there's certain things about certain people that we naturally prefer, that makes us maybe think about them more often or increase our desire to be around them more.
So you're kind of saying certain people, you gravitate towards certain people. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah.
Based on feeling heard. If you feel heard, you kind of gravitate towards those people that make you feel heard.
Yeah, I think a part of why we gravitate towards certain people is whether we realize it or not. We feel heard by them or liked.
Yeah.
I think part of feeling liked in a relationship is again, feeling heard and feeling like they understand us, or just enjoy conversating with them.
Yeah. Well, I like how you brought up that it's subconscious too. You're not consciously thinking, well, I feel heard by this person, that makes me feel happy or appreciated, or if I feel connection with them. It's subconsciously sometimes you feel heard and you're just drawn to that person. You're going to say something, Emily.
Yeah, I think kind of with that topic of feeling heard, for me, sometimes it's also about the way the person might adjust their listening style, if that makes any sense. So I think about one of my best friends. She adjusts the way she listens when I'm sharing something that's difficult, and the way she responds, because she knows me really well, and she knows kind of what helps me. But the way she has those conversations with other friends looks a little bit different, because she is really good at adjusting to what each person kind of needs. And in doing that, she still feels like her. It's not like she feels like a totally different person or fake or anything. It's just she is really good at picking up on what people need from her listening.
Yeah.
And she adjusts to that.
And kind of the assumption or the idea behind that is everybody feels heard in different ways. How I might experience feeling heard is going to be different than you and you, Jordan. That's a really good point. I like that. So I guess the follow-up question to that is as a counselor, how do, and I'll share too obviously, but how do you guys navigate helping different people feel heard? Because anybody coming into your office, it could be a very wide range of people, and so how do you find what makes them feel heard?
I think for me, it's one of the ways I help people feel heard is by making sure I'm understanding them correctly. Because personally, when I feel like people are jumping to conclusions or assuming that that's what I mean or that's how I feel, that doesn't make me feel heard. Because it might be telling that person I don't care enough to make sure I'm understanding. So really trying to understand exactly what someone's trying to communicate or share is a way that I feel, or it's a way that I make people feel heard in counseling.
So making them feel understood, making sure you're understanding exactly what they're trying to communicate. And then as you can kind of do that, it makes them feel heard.
And I think too, a lie or misconception that some counselors can face is, oh, if I'm trying to seek clarification, it makes me feel dumb, or it makes the counselor feel dumb because we aren't automatically getting it right away.
Yeah.
So yeah, just constantly making sure that I'm understanding is a way that I think people feel heard.
Yeah. Well, that's a good point, because it can be very easy to try to seek clarification as a counselor, and then in your own head feeling like, oh, they're gonna think I didn't understand them, or I'm not hearing them, right? But really, it's taking the effort and being willing to seek clarification and try to figure out exactly what that person is meaning, so that you can best ensure that they feel heard and understood. I think it'd be a lot easier for a counselor to just kind of go with their first interpretation of what the person is trying to say, and potentially misunderstand or mishear what the client is really trying to communicate. But that intentional effort to seek clarification is really the counselor kind of confronting their own discomfort with having to ask for clarification, because they know that the client feeling heard is more important than their own comfort level. Yeah. I'm curious if you had any any other thoughts on that, Emily?
Yeah, I think along with what Jordan was saying, it takes a little bit of time sometimes for me, but really trying to figure out how the client processes and being able to adjust to that. So like I have some clients who they need to give me kind of a big burst of information because they don't want to forget anything, and it's less helpful actually if I kind of interject in the middle of that. Even if I think they're kind of pausing, like being able to pick up on their cues of when they're really done with a thought. Or I have some clients who like they take longer and they process maybe a little bit more in their head before they say something, and so giving them some space and some quiet for that instead of trying to fill that quiet with me asking questions or talking, which I mean, like learning anything about a person, it takes a little bit of time to really like figure that out and adjust to each person. So it's also something I like try to remind myself of before the session starts, is like how that person processes different from the person maybe I saw right before them, because it can be very, very different for different people.
Well, that's a good point. Even the nuance of some people need silence to process their own thoughts and figure out where they want to go in their train of thought. Whereas some people, they kind of just get it all out there, and then the silence is indicating, I'm done. I shared what I wanted to share, kind of indicating waiting for a response. And so it's learning how to navigate that kind of tactfully as a counselor, learning how everybody is very unique and very different, and trying to find what method works best with each individual. Which, if you kind of put it that way, it seems like a very complicated task. It seems very complicated to, you're having however many clients a day, trying to navigate going from each one, how to make them feel heard, how to best navigate conversation with them, with everybody being different. So I guess, what are you guys' thoughts on, like, how do you like keep track of that in your brain even? Like, how do you process that or organize that information? Because it just feels like a lot to try to navigate that with so many different unique people.
I think especially when I'm just starting out with them, once I've seen them for like a longer period, it's a little bit faster, a little bit more like I just kind of know when I see their name. But I think starting out, what helps me with that is before seeing any of my clients, I'll kind of look through my schedule and I'll like try to like think about that, and if I can't remember, I might look back at like notes and see if I like made note of the style in which they talk. I'll do different things like that at first, but I find that kind of the more I do that and the more I see them, or the more often I see them even, it kind of just sticks with me a little bit better.
Well, and that's kind of how I approach it as well, is it feels so much more natural as I get time with a client, as I get to know them, and they get to know my communication style as well as a therapist. We kind of develop a rhythm. It's that rapport it becomes natural over time as you establish that relationship with that individual. You just get more comfortable with each other. So, I'm curious if you had any thoughts, Jordan.
I would agree with you guys. I think it's important to allow your client to share as much as they want to share in the beginning. And I think as a counselor, one of our jobs is to kind of pay attention to maybe some things that are being repeated, why what they're saying may be important to them, which I think also comes over time, like why are they coming to counseling, what do they value in life, like all those things can indicate, why they may talk about something for a long period of time, why there might seem to be a lot of emotion behind what they keep talking about, or what just keeps coming up in sessions. So I think all those are important to pay attention to, but it also is important to pay attention to, what they're saying, whether it's a story, a situation, or whatever.
Yeah, I think with that idea of paying attention to what they're saying and noticing maybe things that they talk longer about, it also is important to notice like the changes from like our clients' normal behavior. So like if I have a client who normally like they'll talk like a sentence or two and then they're kind of done with that thought, and then all of a sudden they're like talking for 5 minutes straight about something, that is like a very clear indicator that that is a topic that like we should kind of sit with more and like really look at. Which also kind of goes back to knowing and learning our clients, and learning what is kind of their normal, and then being able to see like the changes in that.
As you're kind of describing that, it's making me think how, as like a counselor, it's so important to be present, to be 100% in tune to the client, to what's going on, to the dynamic, to how they're feeling on a certain day, to how they might be communicating is different than normal, and paying attention to like the nuances of that person. And because people are going to be struggling with different things week to week, and that's going to impact them differently week to week. And so being able to notice when, oh, they had a really good week, and I can tell because they seem a lot more cheerful, and they seem very optimistic in session, or oh wow, they had a really tough week. They seem pretty down on themselves and pretty flat affect, and identifying those things and being able to know how to navigate that to best help them. Yeah.
I think another thing too I was thinking of is being honest with them and how they're sounding, or like if they came in sharing a lot, just being honest with them and being like, that sounded like a lot. Like it sounds like you have a lot going on. It sounds like that brings up a lot of anger for you. Like I noticed your voice got louder, whatever. And not only is it a way of being honest, but it normalizes a conversation between you and the client. Like it can make the client feel like they're talking to like a normal person. So I think the honesty in how they're sounding or whatever can be really important too.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think with that idea of like normalizing and kind of addressing those changes with the client can also be helpful for our clients who particularly are overthinkers. I know that I personally will, because I get very chatty and I like to talk, and like I'll talk really fast, and I'll walk away from conversations with like even friends and I'll be like, oh my gosh, I like talked too much, or like I sounded like this, and I'll like overthink how I sounded. And so I think when we very empathetically bring up, hey, this sounded like a lot for you today, I noticed you were talking a lot faster today, that must be something that's really been on your mind. I think it can give our clients the sense walking out of session that they don't need to be worried about how they sounded in the session.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's something that we talked about and gave empathy for.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah. I think that also encourages the clients to be genuine and be real in session 2. Like, I was having a difficult day, and maybe I sounded like a lot to my counselor today, but it turns out that was okay.
Yeah.
And that was also important to the session I had today.
Yeah. Well, I think what you're both describing is this idea that counselors need to be authentic, right? Like, your counselor's gonna, if it sounds like you're having a rough week, they're gonna say, sounds like you're having a rough week. Like, counselors can be authentic with how they're perceiving or interacting with you in the moment. And I think that can be very powerful, because it's in essence like holding up a mirror, like letting a client see like how I'm being perceived, or how I'm communicating, how I'm like describing myself or my situation, and that can be very insightful. I think that leads naturally into another way that counselors help clients feel heard, and that's through reflection, right? It's it's like, wow, I hear deep hurt in that. It's going beneath the light. It's going beyond the, yeah, I heard your story. I can tell you back exactly what your story, like what happened. I can tell you step by step. It goes deeper. It goes to, wow, you must have felt this way, and it's reflecting that feeling back. It's holding up that mirror and saying, wow, you must have felt this way. And that also then allows the client the chance to, like, well, no, I wasn't exactly feeling that way. I was maybe more feeling this way. And it furthers that conversation of self-expression and allowing them to explore how they really felt in those certain situations.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you guys use reflection of feeling to help clients feel heard?
I would go back to what you just said, is picking out a feeling that they might be having, and really testing that out to see if that's how they feel, or like you said, if they have something that opposes that. Not only is it increasing our understanding, but it's you're giving them an opportunity to feel heard.
Yeah, and I think with that, there's also the opportunity to build awareness in our clients, because, I mean, we're all people, and so sometimes we react to something in a way that's not actually, like, matching up to how we really genuinely feel about it. So if I have a client who comes in and they're, like, talking real loud, and they're, you know, moving their hands around, and, like, they seem angry about something, and I reflect, oh, this sounds really intense. It sounds like it made you really angry. And they're like, well, it actually wasn't, like, that big of a deal. It actually made me feel like this, or, you know, it gives them a chance if they're like, oh, I sound angry right now, but I'm not actually angry. So, like, where is this kind of incongruence, or, like, this not matching up of my reaction to my actual feelings coming from? And I think that can be an important piece of what reflection can do for clients.
That's good. I kind of wanted to summarize, like, because we're all over the place, I wanted to summarize kind of where we've been so far. So initially we talked about how feeling heard establishes connection, right? So feeling heard is important because it establishes connection. Counselors, we help clients feel heard by reflecting feeling, by trying to fully understand like what a client is going through, and by like just engaging in active dialogue with what they're experiencing, and how it also holding up that mirror to how we're experiencing them, and being authentic in that. So I guess that leads me to like this connection. Why is that connection important? And the first thought that comes to my head is research showing that how that therapeutic rapport is the most important part of counseling in general, and that having good rapport predicts the best outcomes in counseling, predicts the most change, and just the most success in therapy. I'm just curious if you guys have any thoughts on that idea of therapeutic rapport and how essential that is to client recovery into progress.
Well, I mean, other than just research, like saying that it's really effective, I think rapport is important because it helps clients feel motivated to continue coming to therapy. So you don't, like, you know, if you switch therapists like every month or so, what progress exactly do you really make? So you want clients to feel motivated to continue coming, to have that consistency in treatment. And I think with that too, rapport helps with I lost my train of thought on that. Oh my gosh. But yeah, I think the motivation to come back is a very important part of rapport. The motivation to also listen, if we're like maybe reframing something, so like giving them a different perspective. Do you want to listen to somebody offer you a different perspective if you don't have like a good relationship with them? Like if you think that they don't care, or they're just kind of there to be there, or you know, I personally don't really want to listen to people like that give me some other perspective. But if it's somebody that like I feel very comfortable with, who I can tell cares about me and actually like is listening to me, I'm much more likely to really consider that alternative perspective that they're offering to me.
That's so good. This idea that the closer I am with somebody, or the more connected I kind of feel to them, the more willing I am to receive a different perspective, or to receive a confrontation, or to receive a challenge. I'm more willing to do that with people that I'm close to. And so you're kind of identifying how that therapeutic rapport essentially gives the counselor the platform with which or the right, really, the right to speak into somebody's life, to show them maybe, hey, you're kind of off in this area. What if you look at it from this perspective? And kind of gently and empathetically help people navigate certain situations where maybe their perception is off. That's really good. What are your thoughts, Jordan?
I think from a counselor perspective, not only is therapeutic rapport mostly beneficial for the client, but it's also really beneficial for the counselor too, because what you're doing is you're allowing your counselor to know you deeper, and you're giving your counselor an opportunity and permission to learn what interventions might work best for you. I think another way counselors can build rapport is in the beginning, like asking your client, like, what are you looking for in counseling, because I think that can also determine how you build a rapport with a client. You know, getting to know their story communicates to the counselor you know, how to talk to them, or what language they might be most receptive to. Like if you have a client who is coming from a family that is highly critical of them, a counselor may not come from a very challenging approach, or they might not use a very challenging approach with them. So you're really allowing your counselor to understand how to provide the best treatment or therapy to you possible.
So identifying as that relationship is kind of established, it gives the client the ability to let the counselor see deeper, to see more of what's going on. Because if you are just showing a surface level, the counselor can only help at a surface level. But the deeper you're able, and the more comfortable you feel to share these deeper, more hurtful things, or these bigger challenges, it just enables the counselor to be able to navigate that better.
And I also think the client's doing themselves a favor, because they're allowing them to take therapy at a pace that they're comfortable with. Never would a therapist want you to share your deepest, darkest struggles on the very first session if that's not what you're comfortable with. because who wants to come back to therapy if they're just constantly struggling and uncomfortable and scared the whole time?
Yeah.
So it really does take time, and there's a lot of benefits to the process.
Yeah.
And not just diving in head first at a depth that you can't really swim in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think something that comes to mind as both of you were talking about that is Rapport allows clients to have freedom to give feedback, because if we as people like feel uncomfortable with a person, it can be really hard to give them feedback sometimes. Particularly somebody who's in like a helping role, like we think, we believe they're like supposed to be helping us with something, and it can be uncomfortable to give feedback about something not working for you. But if you are able to give feedback, that actually helps in the long run with treatment. So establishing that connection and that good rapport can allow the clients not only to have the freedom to really give feedback, but also practice like confidently communicating about their needs to another person in a very safe environment. And that can be something that I've seen a lot of clients struggle with, being able to communicate, because they've never had like a really safe environment to practice it in and gain that confidence.
That's good. Okay, so we kind of went through why that connection, that rapport is so important. I guess and we've talked about how we as counselors try to foster that. From a client perspective, what can you do to find a counselor you're comfortable with, or you have that you're able to cultivate that relationship with?
I think taking a moment to stop and think about the type of people that you like to be around. All therapists are different. We are all human. All therapists have a different personality, approach to counseling. So I think the first step would be stopping and thinking about what do I want? Like what kind of counselor would I most enjoy? Would I most enjoy a counselor that's really direct and like straight to the point? Like, is that what I want and what I need? Or do I want a counselor that is, I don't know what other word to use other than gentle or person-centered, I guess.
Yeah.
Do I want someone that allows me to lead the session? So I think that could be a good starting point.
Yeah, I think with that, taking a minute to really think about what it is you want to get out of counseling, and maybe even like when you go to meet with a counselor, having some questions about like how they can help you do that. Like, it's okay to ask counselors about their approach and their session structure and things like that. And considering what you really want to get out of counseling, what you really need from it, also allows you to really look into the options that are available near you. Into like if you need something that's a specialized treatment, or if you need somebody who maybe speaks more than one language, like maybe English isn't your first language, really like considering, oh, it might be really good if I could find somebody who at least like knows my first language, so that if I have a hard time expressing something in English, or if I just don't feel comfortable like trying to do this in English, they can still understand me. And there are lots of ways to find those people through different platforms and stuff, where you can like adjust the filters for languages and specializations and things like that. But
well, it's not being afraid to look and find a counselor that best suits you and your needs, right? Don't be afraid to advocate for yourself, to advocate for what you need, for what you feel comfortable with. And I love what you brought up, like this idea of like it's okay to ask your counselor questions. It's okay to get that information. I know for my sessions and my intake, I always leave some time for, hey, do you have any questions for me? Is there anything you want to know about me or about my style or how I approach counseling? So I did want to kind of wrap up with this just a question for anybody listening to ponder, and it's this idea of like this upcoming week, taking intentional time to, when have I felt heard? To identify those conversations with certain individuals that you felt really heard, whether that be like, oh, I felt like my parent, that it felt like they really understood me, really heard me, or it felt like my friend really heard me. And then try to identify what about that conversation really made me feel heard. And then that can give you something to, okay, that made me feel heard. I want to make other people feel heard too when they're talking to me. Maybe I'll try practicing this because this is how I felt heard. So just something to think about this upcoming week. But yeah, with that, we're the residents, and I appreciate you all listening.